Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Remember the fallen host, Sergeant Dave. After the survival instincts of a 10-ton transport vehicle rollover accident in the Parwan province of Afghanistan in 2004, he emerges and returns to the state.
I'm back with a vengeance. I'm Sergeant Dave with the Remember the Fallen show, where we will be drilling down on topics like the effects of Agent Orange on our Vietnam veterans, veteran suicide, the conundrum of Kill 22, the flip side of the coin on the rules of engagement, Judicial Watch, and much, much more for the intriguing mind.
Indeed, as he navigates through the bureaucracy from returning veterans from the global war on terrorism, he gains a new perspective and a renaissance that he'll share with you. A compelling fever of enthusiasm to all patriots across the windswept fields of America the Beautiful.
Tonight's show is not about getting a lump in your throat when you hear the national anthem. Tonight's show is very complex and tragic. It goes under-researched and under-reported. It is the silent epidemic of male suicide. It is such a sensitive topic that it was difficult to get a co-host for the show. So there will be no battle buddy tonight. I'm taking it on by myself. So tonight's topic is a highest ranking soldier versus celebrity suicide. John Rossi found dead July 31st, 2016. To his family, he was a loving husband and a loving dad. And to the military, he was Major General John Rossi. The Army said it has determined that the suicide was the cause of death of a 2-star general who was found dead in his home on a military base in Alabama at Redstone Arsenal 2 days before he was to assume command of Army Space and Missile Defense Command. He is the first Army general to commit suicide on active duty since record-keeping began in 2000. Now, there's another missed opportunity from our Department of Defense. Why was this devastating statistic only began its record-keeping since 2000? What was going on decades earlier that no one was keeping a watchful eye on this? It's called complacency, or sweep it under the proverbial rug. If it did happen, it's understandable why its record-keeping didn't really ratchet up till after 9/11, when our military was chasing terrorists all over the world after they took down the Twin Towers in New York. Well, back to the main story. USA Today reports that Major General John Rossi was the highest-ranking soldier ever to have taken his own life, noting that military suicides soared earlier this decade. They typically have affected lower-ranking military members. And Rossi was a West Point Academy graduate and an Air Defense Artillery, ADA, officer by training, had just moved into Redstone Arsenal and was scheduled to be promoted to Lieutenant General. Yeah, that's a 3-star, when he was about to take command of Space and Military Defense Command. Now here you have a highly decorated officer soaring the ranks, ready to become a 3-star general, and he takes his own life? The question I ask the audience, do you consider taking your own life a felony on your record? Because if you do, you lose your veteran burial benefits. I would like to research more on this, but out of respect for the family, I just can't do it. Being in the military for 17 and a half years as a citizen soldier, There has been enough pain on the family as it is, but any civilian in the audience that wants to research this further, go ahead and email me at sergeantdave@klrnradio.com. That's sergeantdave@klrnradio.com. I guess there was a written statement by the Army that made no mention of what might have prompted Rossi to take his own life. He had actually spoken in March, 4 months prior, at a conference on preventing military suicide. The Rossi family issued a statement through the Army expressing thanks for widespread support and urging those who may need suicide prevention help to seek it immediately. There was quite an array of suicide hotline numbers to call. So if you're in the state of Florida, you have a 1-844-MY-FLORIDA-VET, which correlates to 693-5838. So that's 844-693-5838. So by calling, and also by calling 211, and their hashtag is We See What Others Don't. So veterans and their loved ones across Florida are able to talk confidentially with someone trained to provide emotional support and connections to community resources. Here's a list of the first asked questions. What is 844-MY-FLORIDA-VET? Well, 844-MY-FLORIDA-VET is a toll-free number that veterans and their loved ones can call 24/7 for emotional support and information pertaining to community resources. Second question, who answers the calls? The calls are answered by staff and volunteers at local nonprofit organizations in Florida. These organizations also answer calls from 2111, which is the number reserved as an easy-to-remember 3-digit telephone number meant to provide information and referrals to health, human, and social service organizations. How much does it cost? It doesn't cost anything to call, and many of the organizations in the available area will be referred to have services available at no charge. How can you help me? We can provide emotional support and connect you to private nonprofit organizations and government agencies, VA and non-VA, that have programs and services that may be able to help you. This can include medical care, housing, counseling, legal, and employment resources as well. Is it confidential? Calls to 1-844-MY-FLORIDA-VET or 211 are confidential. You don't need to share your name or contact information at all. What if I wasn't honorably discharged? You can call 1-844-MY-FLORIDA-VET regardless of discharge status. There are organizations in your community that can help and will help all veterans that need. Now, as part of the statewide expansion of the Florida Veteran Support Line, a revolutionary billboard was placed near MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. It was called the Stitches of Duty. It was stitched entirely of actual military gear donated by veterans. For service members, the billboards lets us know there are people who understand our struggle and there is somewhere we can reach out for help, said U.S. Army combat medic and billboard contributor Carrie Padilla. The donated items are so important to us as service members, and parting with them is our way of showing the community we're still here and we still need help. You know, combat kills 2 soldiers a day. Suicide kills 22 soldiers a day. To see this first full project, go to stitchesofduty.com. You know, some wounds can heal if stitched together. If you are a veteran, please know you're never alone. And there is a National Veterans Crisis Line.net as well. So veteranscrisisline.net can help. The phone number there is 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. This is where you can take a self-check quiz, and you can actually text now. Today's technology, you can text your therapeutic answers and stuff by texting 838-255. You can also go to tricare.mil for any assistance as well. Now back to the other half of the show. Anthony Bourdain and the silent epidemic of male suicide. This is the celebrity chef. As an outpouring of grief in recent weeks has proven, Bourdain managed to touch fans of every age, race, and gender. But he struck a particular chord with men who were very close in age to himself. Nearly 600,000 Americans over the age of 54 watch Bourdain's show each week. To his fans, Bourdain was a truth-telling global trotter who revealed in other cultures and experienced the world at its highest level, then stunned the world and commit suicide in a hotel room in France. Now it's time for me to step away from the thought process on this sensitive matter and get to the experts' advice. Older men to be more pushed to the margins and seem to be viewed as less relevant, says Dan Bilsker, a clinical psychologist in University of British Columbia clinical assistant professor. At present, men account for 80% of all suicides, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. While suicide rates have gone down overall, now there could be a disconnect with the military times, 22 a day and counting. I'm not surprised with that disconnect with the new media. Now, let's carry on. Middle-aged white men are still at the greatest risk of taking their own lives. By 2016, the number had gone up by 55%. So once again, we have this debacle of stats, both in the military and in the civilian population. Where there's woefully under-researched and under-reported trend, the silent epidemic of male suicide. The easy correlation of these two middle-aged men would be is as were brought up as young boys, that you were never to show your feelings on your sleeve. You were to shield it inside and don't be seen as weak. But on the flip side of the coin, when comparing a two-star general to a celebrity chef who had a large following, where you have a major general on active duty living on base showing no signs of this silent epidemic, and then you have a celebrity chef whose memoirs, Medium Raw, Bourdain wrote that he was regularly suicide after the end of his first marriage. And he had bouts with drugs as well. So if I was going to be a psychiatrist for 15 minutes of fame, I would say there's not a correlation between these two men other than they were both middle-aged men. They lived totally opposite spectrum lives, one governed by the military and one not governed by anybody. But what do we know is that depression is treatable and even reversible form of impairment. So the hardest thing is to recognize it early with our family, friends, neighbors, and co-workers. Just like these times in security, if you see something, say something. Easier said than done to go up to a man that's been in combat and talk about his weaknesses. Very difficult. And that's why it goes underreported so many times and unresearched, because it's such a difficult topic. Now, another soldier that I looked up to back in 2010 and 2011 was an incredible advocate for veterans. And he took his own life in 2011. It was Marine Clay Hunt, received a hero's welcome when he returned home to Texas after serving as a sniper in Afghanistan and Iraq. Struggling with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, the Purple Heart winner became a widely recognized advocate for veterans. I remember reading articles about him. I was so proud of this guy, and then all of a sudden, in 2011, 2 years after leaving the Marines, the 28-year-old became one of the 8,000 veterans who commit suicide every year. So, after 4 years of Clay Hunt's suicide, the United States Senate unanimously passed the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention for Americans Veterans Act, and President Obama signed it into law. And among other things, the new law would create a comprehensive outreach program to address veterans' mental health and provide financial incentives to psychiatric doctors who work with. This bill provides a good starting point to help an at-risk population like our military coming back from overseas, long deployments, that transition they have to make back into society, not doing the basic grunt stuff that they're used to doing, getting up early, doing the run, getting PT out of the way early, and just doing what they're so used to doing, a regiment, for so long. So this type of bills can help, but it's a small step forward in addressing a long-time problem that has only been growing in severity, experts say. Veteran suicide claims 22 veterans each day at around 30 suicides per 100,000 veterans. The suicide rate is more than double the rate for the general population. And the reasons for the high suicide rates are not entirely clear. No one knows. But researchers say that military life exposes soldiers to a series of risk factors that place them at a heightened suicide risk. Even though some in the military is usually healthier physically than someone in the general population, going into the military isn't going to increase your risk of suicide, says Martha Bruce, professor of sociology and psychiatry at Cornell University. It's the experiences either during service or in the transition or after. First and foremost, combat exposes soldiers to traumatic life and death situations. And depression and PTSD may fall right behind. Other soldiers return with brain injuries. All these ailments have been linked to increased risk of suicide. General Lloyd J. Austin III, the Army's Vice Chief of Staff, has called suicide the toughest enemy he's faced in 37-year Army career. To combat this enemy, the nation needs to respond with overwhelming force. That's what we did to protect our troops from IEDs. And we owe the men and women in uniform who struggle silently with mental health issues the same dedicated response. Now, the battle against IEDs required a $45 billion investment in armored vehicles, which have been credited with saving thousands of troops' lives, right? Okay? The hard tops. Protective undergarments to shield service members from blasts have also been fielded. In April, the Army issued a request for proposal for more gear. The fight to protect service members and prevent military suicide will necessitate a different but equal forceful response. I do want to recognize Senator Patty Murray's Mental Health Access Act of 2012. It has improved access to support services and care for service members, veterans, and their families. I've noticed it just going to the VA myself in the last couple of years. And suicide prevention program have required the department to oversee mental health care to ensure the best practices are implemented. Like they're allowing right now acupuncture, Tai Chi, and yoga to assist with mental health issues. So understanding the toll that prolonged war that takes on families, the legislation would expand eligibility for VA mental health service to family members as well, helping them to get the care and support that's needed. So the severity of military suicide cannot be overstated, and the nation can't risk inaction anymore when combating this rampant enemy. The VA and DoD need to still invest in more research to understand suicide, just like they invested the $45 billion to the up-armored Humvees to save lives. And the same needs to happen to the relationship between suicide and military service. But it is also issues a call to leadership. The men up top, knowing that senior military and civilian leaders must be more engaged. They got to talk about it. and the military must treat mental health as a critical component of readiness. No family, and especially a mother, can ever be in the readiness when a tragedy hits home like this, the one you're about to hear. Karen Eastray reached out to me on Facebook Messenger about her son, Army Specialist Daniel Carl Eastray, who was one of the 22 a day that took his life on December 6, 2015, over a nasty divorce. The friends called him DC, and here is his story that Karen Eastray, mother, wanted us to share this unique story of a message in a motorcycle. And Karen will forever search for ways that she can reach out and at least one young vet she could save and help him, to let them know it isn't hopeless. His mother still desperately needs him. And Karen, this story could be the one to save that one young vet. And here it is, as it aired on WMBF.
Our lives in mysterious ways, some through motorcycles. It took 2 wheels and a pair of handlebars to bring 2 men together, one in South Carolina, one in North Carolina. It was an unexpected connection, born from tragedy, but sealed with compassion. It may have been chance, or it may have been fate, that this Harley-Davidson motorcycle ended up in Jim Montgomery's garage.
I mean, if you think of the odds of all the motorcycles, this one was actually went from Florida to Ohio, back to Florida, and then ended up here in Myrtle Beach. So, and I was looking at several other motorcycles. So this is the one I picked, and there must have been a reason for that.
He had only owned the bike for a few days when a stranger offered to buy it.
And I noticed the wire was kind of hanging down here, so I just popped the cover off, and when I did, that's when I found this.
A photo and a note, hidden for more than a year until they found their way into Jim's hands.
This motorcycle belonged to my brother, who passed away December 6th, 2015. I have tried to save it, but have been unable to due to ongoing legal proceedings. This bike was his most prized possession. Please call me, and I will buy it from you.
It was like a message in a bottle, and Jim answered the stranger's plea.
You just can't not. When you find something like that, you have to call. It's the right thing to do.
170 miles away, Jonathan Eastray's phone rang.
I mean, I was just kind of stunned. I didn't really expect to ever hear about it again. What do you say when something like that comes back out of the blue?
Jonathan says he had given up hope.
It felt like it was a piece of him that we weren't able to preserve.
Daniel Carl Eastray, known to those close to him as DC, was an Army veteran. He loved the roar of a good motorcycle. He loved a good meal from Olive Garden, and he loved his family. But they were the ones hurt most by his suicide.
Losing him in such a manner, I experienced every negative emotion, anger, sorrow, just confusion. It's just having someone do that it's the most terrible way to lose someone you love.
DC took his own life in the midst of a nasty divorce, leaving his family to fight for his most prized possession through the court system.
I was afraid of letting it go, that it wouldn't come back, and I thought it wasn't going to, but it was one of those things you have to accept sometimes. So, but it's come back now, which is amazing.
So if you could talk to your brother today and tell him that you've been doing all this to just get back his most prized possession, what do you think he would say or think about that?
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be sorry he did it. I'm sure if he had realized what it was going to do to my family, to my sisters, myself, my mom, he wouldn't have. I don't think he was thinking straight, and I don't think he realized what it was going to do to the rest of us.
For Jonathan, the bike will be a reminder of the good times.
It'll be something that's another memory of my brother, something that I'll have, and I'll probably never ride it, maybe once a year, just to keep it lubed up and running. And it'll just be something I can preserve, that piece of his life, and I'll keep it as long as I can.
For now, in Myrtle Beach, Jim is holding on to the motorcycle until Jonathan has the money to buy it back.
This way I know that he is going to get his motorcycle back.
And until then, he'll be riding the roads with the memory of Army Specialist D.C. Eastry. Jonathan says he hopes it'll only be a few months before he can bring his brother's motorcycle home. We actually shared this story with many of you this morning on the WNBF News app.
What an amazing story at that. Okay, it's my first request for our audience. I want someone out there to Google message in a motorcycle. It's right there on Google. I just pulled it up, and I want us to start a fundraiser to buy this bike back for Jonathan for his brother Daniel Carr, DC Eastry. I think we should be able to do this. Shouldn't be a lot of money. So go ahead, email me at sergeantdave@klrnradio.com. I need someone out in the audience to go ahead and Google message in a motorcycle and email me back the information and research it, and let's try to buy this bike back as a fundraiser and give it back to Jonathan, his brother, and so he could honor his brother by having that bike as a shrine to archive it for what he's done for our country and for the sorrow of our 22 a day. We can do it for him. It's pretty easy for us as an audience. As we come together, I think we should be able to do this. As I stated earlier, you see, one of us can be run off, two of us can be disregarded, but a show's audience together, we are a movement, and this movement we need to do. Let's get this fundraiser going, all right? All right, it's getting 0:30 for the show, and I'm just about ready to go into rack ops mode. But before I relax, never! One last promo. So go to Sergeant Dave at klrnradio.com for suggestions for the show's content. Or if you know a good piece of gear, a veterans advocate, I will get him on the show. Copy me again, email me at sergeantdave@klrnradio.com. And you can go to my Facebook page and like the page at Remember the Fallen, all one word. Copy once again, Remember the Fallen, all one word on Facebook. You can also hit me on my Twitter handle at Heroic Memorials. Or if you're not into the Twitter bird chirping thing, you can go to my website at www.neverforgottenmemorials.org and mark your calendar every Thursday night on your phone at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at klrnradio.com, and we're also on iHeartRadio. Select shows and tap whatever show is running, and that should be my show every Thursday night. That's in order until all the troops come home. All right, fall out. Pop Smoke out.